Hey everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. This is the start of the season, and obviously I have with me comic artist Gregbo Watson. A lot of people know who you are, but welcome back to the show because I think this is your second time on.
Yeah, it's my second time on.
You know,
The show's so
I'm
nice,
excited.
I did it twice.
Yes, exactly. And obviously, I like your cover work. I think I have a few of your covers. And if I don't, I'm going to go buy a few of your covers. I know that you're working with Tyler Carpenter, who does Grow with the Mega Fist. So I'm excited for that. I think that's coming in March, I want to say, or maybe it's coming later. I'm not exactly sure. But I don't know if you can or can't say, but if you, whatever, it's not important. Tyler can hate me later. Tyler's a good friend. That's why I could say that.
Okay.
but before we really dive into some of your cover work and other things, I do want to catch everybody up on who you are because you're a fascinating individual.
I appreciate it.
You've been around for a long time, and there's things that I don't even know about that you told me before we went live. So
I'm an international man of mystery and an international hooligan.
Exactly. So what basically I just want to catch everybody up on who you are because you work for Cinescope. I think you've done some stuff for, some mainstream companies. I think you've done some stuff for a bunch of indies. Have you done something for Dynamite? I don't know if you've
I've done a couple of covers for Dynamite. I did a couple of Vampirellas, a Red Sonja, and a Panther.
I forget because every time I turn on Kickstarter, your covers come up.
Here's one of my Dynamites. It's a Panther.
Yeah, I do like that one. That one's nice in a lot of ways. So obviously, I just want to remind everybody who you are. But enough about that because I do want to talk about your covers. And the best place to start is with one of my favorite people that I enjoy interviewing and buying his work and what he puts out, and that's Jim Noble's company.
Jim. Yeah.
I love Jim Noble. I love the fact that he's an equal offender with some of his covers in a lot of ways.
That he is. I love him to death, man. He came down to Heroes Con this past year in June, and we did. I've got it right here. As a matter of fact, this is one I did for. It's one I did a naughty version too. Let's see here. Like a Sith chick on Mustafar. You got it up. Never mind. There it is. So I did that for the Heroes Con exclusive for Totally Rad and for Jim. Jim's a great guy. It was a trip, man. Getting to meet in person, and we just got to hang out a good little bit. And
so let's even talk about this because I love Star Wars.
Me too.
I like old Star Wars, where I think 4, 5, and 6 are the best. And I will end this interview if you get this question wrong. Which one out of those 3 was the best?
Out of the originals?
Yeah, out of the originals.
Empire Strikes Back.
Of course. There's only one answer.
There's only one answer, seriously.
But what is this like, all jokes aside, though, that to do Star Wars covers? Because you've done a few of them for Jim, and I think you've done some other Star Wars stuff for some other companies.
I have.
But it's a very cool thing. People love Star Wars comics, and they're fun to do. And even some of the new stuff is fun to do because people instantly get it. And that's what I think makes a Star Wars cover different. It's similar to Star Trek in a lot of ways, or Pokemon is a good example too, where people instantly get it.
Well, it's kind of a universal language. I mean, and you can kind of tell, if somebody tells me that they weren't around, if they tell me they were around when the original Star Wars come out, then them and I automatically have I have a frame of reference of everything they know about, as a kid. But, Star Wars, it just is this zeitgeist that came around. It changed so many things. I mean, it changed everything from movies, obviously, to action figures, to merchandising, to you name it. And, you're hard pressed to find somebody in fandom who likes other things that also don't have the common love of Star Wars in some way, and level. You know, they can be an insaniac like you and I. Like I'm sitting over here, and off to my left in the game room here is a life-size Han Solo and Carbonite leaned up against the wall. So the old Elusive Concepts one, you know, and I got a life-size Yoda in there, and I've got all kinds of stuff like that throughout the house.
Yeah, so even being a fan, and then obviously, I mean, I'm 30, so I'm significantly younger, but I love the original. I enjoy the prequels. You know, I went to go see the last three, 7, 8, and 9.
I'm
And
sorry.
I enjoyed seeing it, but I did not like the movie. If that makes any sense, where I enjoyed the experience and I appreciate the graphics, but it was a rough one. It was rough, those three. But I could appreciate what they were trying to do.
I don't think they could get what they were trying to do, really. I think Disney has not found its footing yet. It's like, you know, when I was a kid, let me just put it to you this way. When I was a kid, I'm really dating myself now, but Disney World in Orlando was just opening, right? And my parents used to take me every year to Disney World down in Orlando. And I love Disney World. And when I was a kid, I loved Star Wars so much that at night before I go to bed, please, God, please let one day Star Wars have a theme park like Disney. Then all of a sudden, flash forward all these years later, my childhood prayers and dream come true. Disney buys Star Wars. They create this whole Galaxy's Edge thing in this hotel. The hotel was a major flop. And then they theme Galaxy's Edge. They're like, what can we do? I understand what they were doing because they're wanting to push forward their version of Star Wars. But nobody wants to see that. Everybody goes in. I know people that work down at Disney. I know people on the inside. And they're saying all the time that's one of their biggest worries is the number one question for guests in the Star Wars Galaxy Edge is, where's Han Solo? Where's Luke Skywalker? Where's Princess Leia? Where's references to them? You just can't find it. It's all this new crap.
Well, I'm a shareholder, so I'm a little biased. It's too easy. It's too easy. But I get that argument and I understand. But for me, I love Star Wars covers because, again, you said it really perfectly, where it's just universal, where I can spot a Star Wars cover from miles out. You know, when somebody does, so Zenescope did an Ahsoka Tona by Sun Kumanaki, and that cover was amazing. And I sold that cover because I bought a second one, and somebody paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a beautiful cover and everybody understands the language. And so it's just very cool. And I'm one of the people that will spend a lot of money on May the 4th with comics. You know, there's certain days that I will spend a lot of money on comics and I prepare for it. I mean, I'm starting to build that fund right now, but I just think it's so interesting. And then I think this is another one that's also.
That's another one of Jim's. Yeah.
And so what was this like too? Because this one is definitely, you know, the bad guys. And I think this is Leia. And obviously, I don't know if it's Groot or if it's Yoda.
Oh, it's Baby Yoda. It's Baby Yoda.
There
I
we
don't
go.
call it Grogu. I don't. I refuse. It's Baby Yoda. But I'm kind of like, if I have a choice, if somebody wants me to draw a fairy tale character or a character, and luckily most of these guys, when they get me into a cover, they'll have like some kind of rough theme in mind, maybe, but they'll say, well, like, okay, we'll do a Star Wars Day cover. And like Jim's great when dealing with stuff like this, gave me no direction, just said, hey, here's my character, and I want you to do a cosplay of her. And that was Jenny Cupcakes. You can tell because you can see all the cupcakes.
Yeah.
But he said, make it a Star Wars. Okay. So, you know, I naturally, I just got to thinking with the cupcakes. I was thinking about all those multi-level things in Jabba's palace, you know, all those little things where he's lounging around, you know, and it's got this, that over there. Figured I'd have cupcakes all over the place and then throw Baby Yoda in for some of the newer, you know, and plus my girlfriend is a Baby Yoda nut. So I almost had to. But when he said about doing the Heroes Con one and doing one Star Wars, if I'm left up to my own design, it's always going to be a bad guy or a heel. because that's more where I align. And that's, I was the kid watching Justice League or Super Friends when I was a kid and pulling for the Legion of Doom,
Yeah. So what is that like? Because obviously, I mean, you're going to Heroes Con and you're drawing a villain. I mean, it's kind of fun. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's a snub, but
Yeah.
obviously what makes good heroes, in my opinion, is really good villains.
Yeah,
Because
your greatest hero is only as strong or as interesting as their most powerful villain. I mean, it's just all. You look at Batman. I mean, I don't know that Batman would be so popular if he was just running around chasing everyday thugs or just maybe one or two villains. But this is me, and there's a lot of argument from different people about it. But I would say in comics history, probably the greatest rogues gallery was Batman, probably followed by Spider-Man, and then after that, probably followed, oddly enough, by the Flash, because the Flash has some really wacky, insane villains. Trickster, Gorilla Grodd, Reverse Flash, Mirror Master, Captain Boomerang, all those good guys.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I mean, I like to throw Green Lantern in there with Sinestro because I
love Sinestro.
I think that's just so interesting. The fact that you have a person who was a lantern and then he betrayed his own kind and formed his own corps. I think that's such an interesting dynamic. Yeah, and so that's just my go-to. But I definitely think that.
But I'm talking about in overall breadth. Like, for example, there's other heroes that have some really good villains, like Green Lantern. But when you talk Batman, you can feel Arkham Asylum and have to look for space to fill the rest of his villains. Spider-Man is probably right behind that. And then Flash, in terms of just sheer number of cool villains, because you can't argue with Sinestro as being one of the top tier villains. I mean, he was in the Legion of Doom, for goodness sake.
No. I get it. And I can definitely see it. I think I definitely agree on the Batman thing. And there's just a lot of stuff with Batman. But going even back into more Totally Rad, because there's some crazy covers you have done. There's another reference.
Oh, yeah.
Jason, I believe. I think it's this one. So that one's cool in that regard. And that's always fun. Because, again, very much universal in a lot of ways. And then so is this one as well.
Oh, yeah, that was Gwen. That was actually Gwen's idea. Because Gwen will get, my colorist, Gwen Dalagot, she will get on a kick about a certain movie or a certain character, and she cannot get it out of her head. And she is looking for some way to shoehorn this character into something we're doing. So she talked Jim into doing an Aliens Day. And I was like, hey, I'm all for it, And so, this cover would not be in existence if it was not for Gwen Dalagot. And it's a great cover.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the eyes on it, where it's just the colors that pop out. And I don't know much about Jim's, most of his properties in the actual book, but I know a lot of his covers, and I like a lot of the stuff he does. And I just love the creativity and having fun with it and things.
And he is so easy to work with. I mean, so easy to work with.
So that's what I know, and I'm broke. So unfortunately, Jim has like 900 covers. It's a problem.
Yeah.
What is he, 3-4 years in, and he's got like 900 covers? It's insane.
Something like that. And it is just, and you should have seen him at Heroes Con. He had the booth and all that stuff. And I was on the other end because he was down in Indy Island, and I was up there, and he brought the books up to me, the HeroCons exclusives. And well, no. He brought them up to me afterwards. In the beginning, I was telling people, and I was having to tell them how to find Jim. And they were walking down there, but Jim was never at his booth because Jim is a perennial. I mean, he loves comics so much, and he's a big kid to begin with. Somebody would have had to put super glue on his seat to keep him in his seat. I mean, he's up and just walking the floors of that con the whole time. There was a couple times I would take a break, and I would go and walk about. And when I'm walking through the con, I'm like, oh, I'll go stop by and say hey to Jim. Never there. Never at his booth. It was great.
So let's even talk about cons, because I haven't been to a con since before COVID.
Yep.
I felt that there was an issue at a con where I was presenting and I wasn't on it, and it just agitated me. And I decided to take a break off from
Mhm.
presenting and doing just fan panels, and then COVID hit. Um, and so I haven't been to a con. I don't know if I'm ever going to come back at this point. For a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I don't really see a point in what I'm trying to accomplish. That's not saying
Yeah.
somebody else can't go to it. That doesn't mean there's not merit to go to it, but I've heard weird things where I've heard people have done really well at cons. I've heard
Mhm.
people have been busy. I've also heard people saying, I also don't want to be at a con because now I'm competing with everything. And I'd rather go to like a music festival to sell my book because there's less competition. So I'm curious how it is because I don't know anything about it. And this is all hearsay to me.
Well, okay. I'm a little bit biased because I mean I've been doing this since the '90s, and I've built up people, especially because I mostly do cons on the East Coast and Southern East Coast. And I've been doing Heroes Con all the way back to like the early '90s, you know. So I've built a recurring fan base over the years, and so when I'm at one of these cons, and plus nowadays I do a lot for a lot of different companies and a lot of different books and a lot of different things. So I'm usually mobbed at one of these things and stay busy. Like a lot of times Misty has to kind of exit me away through the banners so I can get, and go and walk around or do something. But I enjoy it because most of the time I'm in the studio, and it's nice to see person to person how your work affects somebody. But I can see it for new comics starting out. When I go walking, when I was going down to see Jim in Indy Island down there, you've got people just slugging it out for people's money because people are coming to get like books from like me and other artists that are there over in Artist Alley and get some art and stuff. And then whatever money they had left over, and then they start wandering through, and then they're competing for those dollars and trying to get those books out. The thing I would say about cons is I still believe, even if you haven't built a following yet, if you are careful and very strategic, it can be very lucrative and very good for you. But if you just go in and expect people to come to your table and find you in this massive sea, I mean, look,
Yeah.
when I got out of it, I think the last time I was on, I was telling you that I had got out of comics. I did comics in the '90s, and I got out of it for a little while when my son was born. When I came back into comics, it was totally different. I mean, into cons, because used to back in the '90s, me and a couple of buddies would go do cons together, Dragon Con, Heroes, just all over. But there wasn't near the amount of cons there are today. And we would just, whatever table they gave us, no tablecloth, no prints, no books. We would just come with a sketchbook, pop the sketchbook on the table, tear the first page out, fold it in half, do a table tent, write our names on it, our sketch prices, and then turn around and proceed to talk to one another and goof around for the rest of the con. When I first came back to the con, I saw how different it was. I walked into the con building, particularly at Heroes Con, which is huge, walked in, and all I saw were a sea of these banners, these colored banners, with the person's name or the company name at the top, and then a character or some artwork or whatever. Everybody had these things. Now, when I was there years before, that was not a thing. So what I did is I sat down and said, how am I going to get noticed in this big giant sea of, banners? Because when I'd get up and go walk around, I'd get lost in all the banners, couldn't even find my way back to the table because everything looked alike. So what I did is I did artwork, but I left it black and white. And I noticed when I was standing up on the upper tier looking down at the con, my eye would go boom right to my banner every time. And because it was just so different, it was black and white and a sea of color.
Yeah.
Then I think some people caught on to it because nowadays you do see some black and white covers. At the time you didn't, but now I've done enough where people, when they come to a con, they know I'm there and they come and find me. So
It's just a very interesting thing because I don't know if you know Travis Gibb, but Travis put out a statement saying that, with a lot of, small press and small publishers, not going to be taking in, new works or wanting to push out people's works,
mm-hmm.
more creators are going to come to Kickstarter. And that's going to take away some business from a brand new small person because there's only so much money that goes around.
True.
But that means you have to work harder. You have to work smarter. You have to, work twice as hard to some degree. And you also have to be a lot more strategic. And there's a reason why I'm even changing what I'm doing this season on this show, where I'm purposely hitting up more wrestlers. I'm hitting up more voice actors because the reason why, because they draw attention. And so all of a sudden, I think that's a big thing that's coming. And this is why I'm so curious. And I think a lot of creators are just really bad at business. That's just my opinion. And I don't think they understand what you have. If you're great,
let me explain a little bit and I'm glad you brought that up because I think you hit the nail on the head.
Oh, I thought you were going to criticize me. Thank God.
No. I think you hit the nail on the head because this is a pet peeve of mine. Is I'm at a con, right? Now, usually, believe it or not, I've stopped. I don't sketch at cons anymore. Now, I will take books from people or requests, and then I'll do them and then mail them to them or whatnot, or bring them to the next con. But I've stopped doing it at cons because what I see is a lot of these creators, and they're just sitting there at their table with their head down. These people don't, I'm seeing people walk by and they'll stop and look, and then they'll look at the person for a minute, and then they're like, I don't want to interrupt them, and walk over. Or you've got the person who's sitting there with a glower on their face, the whole time, and they're not really welcoming. I do a thing. I joke with Misty, that's my girlfriend, and she's at all the cons with me, and I always tell her, I have to apologize to her at the end of the day because she had to sit there and listen to every dumb story I tell about 3,000 times. But, I told her it's kind of like dinner and a show. These fans support me. So I want to make sure when they come to my booth, they have a good time. So I'm sitting there talking to anybody. I want to take the time to talk to these people. I want to be really personable. And I hate to say it, but about 90 from the cons I've been to personally, and I go to a fair share of them. I would say about 90% of the artists that are set up there are just kind of like touch me nots, or they're like, or somebody will come up and say like, well, how much is this piece of art? Oh, it's such and such. Oh, it's X amount. And then they just leave it at that instead of saying, oh, cool. Oh, that's a good choice. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something cool about that art. I did this for such and such. Let me tell you a cool story behind it. And then it creates, because I love my fans. I mean, that's one thing. I absolutely love my fans. And because they keep me doing what I'm doing, what I love to do. So I make sure to make that connection. And too many of the people that are out there just don't do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a problem. I think a lot of writers don't know how to do it either.
Correct.
I think, there's a way how to sell, right? So I sell on eBay. So I don't have a face-to-face relationship with my customers, but I have a message dialogue. And so I find ways how to make something more attractive. I find ways how to make something better. I also write a thank you note in my box when I have a repeat customer, or I'll throw them a $20 book if they just ordered something and they've been ordering from me for 4, 5, 7 books later.
Right.
If they really spend $1,500 with me, because again, I'm not going to go ask somebody their number. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't want to invade somebody's space that way, nor do I think it's fair on eBay. But if I send you a $20 book and I'm like, hey, thank you so much for buying from me. And even that, and I think there's ways how, if you're not social or you're bad at it, there's ways how to do that where, or you can say, hey, if you buy this piece of art, I got this print and I'll throw that in, anything of that nature. And I just think that a lot of people are just bad at this, and I want them to get better. Like it's not me saying I'm going to crush you because I'm not an artist, but I want you to get better. And I don't know how to make that work, but I'm like, because I want people in comics to make money. Because if you're making money, you're not taking money out of my mouth. If anything, you're adding money potentially to me, because there's a way for me to make money in business. And
a rising boat, raises all ships, if you look at it that way. Because another thing I run into now, there's a good amount of people like down here in the cons that I do, and we all get along, and we kind of consider ourselves like one big Carney family, because, you know, Misty and I travel a lot of places. So once we're up northward, there's a bunch of people we know close to up there. Then, you know, a little bit westward, we've got, you know, Heroes is the one where we usually see everybody. But, you know, it's just the fact of being personable, but then also, you know, it almost gets into too much of a competition mindset, that people are afraid to share what they're working on because they're afraid like this other guy is going to hit up the comic book company you're working for and say, oh, I can do it better, I can do it cheaper. I see that mentality on people that are starting out all the time. And yeah, I've run across some, and there are some bad people out there in the business. There is, but it's that way in every business. And, you know, you just kind of got to get your own network and kind of rely on each other and help each other out.
Yeah, it's tricky because I've run into bad apples with ideas that I've thrown to people. And people, you shouldn't do that. And then I'm like, why? And then like, you shouldn't do that. And then it's just bad. But then I've had other people say, oh, that's kind of an interesting idea. And
Yeah.
it's tricky. And you know what? It depends on who's saying it, how they say it. And so I'm very reserved, actually, in telling people my ideas, because I've had 2 or 3 bad experiences, and I personally don't want a fourth. I don't. And I don't feel like sharing. And it's an unfortunate side effect when that happens. And knowledge dies when that occurs. I mean, I'm very secretive of certain things that I know and how I run my eBay business. Because, again, I don't want people to know that, because, again, I don't want that challenge, because I've been challenged enough. And it's an unfortunate thing, because I think I could help a lot of people. But also I don't want to be yelled at or shamed, for lack of a better word.
Well, I've run into that too. I mean, I've got, you know, I won't bring up who and what in the surrounding situation, but you and I were speaking right before the show, and I gave you an example of somebody I tried to help, and it ended up, you know, exploding in my face. But I had to sit down, and I had to, you know, for a while I was kind of real reserved about not how I would talk to fans, but how I would try to help other people that are coming up. And then I had to get back. I mean, I just had to be like, you know, this was one bad apple, a really bad guy. And, I don't want to make everybody else suffer for it. And so far since that's happened, I've had good experiences, but that's not going to be the case with everybody. I mean, I get calls. You'd be surprised the calls I get. Misty laughs at me all the time because my day, I go nowhere. I'm in the studio all day long. My phone rings, and it's either it's anybody from people in comics, in the comic book world, whether it's vendors, dealers, or other artists, colorists, writers. But then also it gets into the weirdness where I've got like TV and movie directors and producers calling me and talking to me and just, hey man, what's up? You know, blah, blah, blah. Just shooting the pro wrestlers. I mean, it's the whole thing is just like, Misty's just like, you lead the weirdest life and know the weirdest people. I mean, it's so surprising. Like I did a con, and it was a great con. It was up in Upper Tennessee, Lower Virginia, right around in that area. And I was at a con with, and you want to talk about a weird array of people, okay? It was me. Now, it was a great con. The people that came were great. I'm talking about a weird array of people to have. It was me, Butterbean, Jake Roberts, and Marcy Darcy from Married with Children. Talk about a lineup.
It's kind of crazy.
That was really cool.
That's kind of crazy. My life is nice and boring. It's the way I like it. The most exciting part of my life is my crypto investing. Oh, that's gonna be fun, guys. That's gonna be fun. When I buy a house in Hawaii and then I buy the house next to it in Hawaii, yeah, we all know I'm gonna paint it in Barbie colors too, just to be that guy.
Well, and you got to put that little guest house off to the side that Gregbo can come and hang out in Hawaii and get his one time in the world vacation, because he's always so busy he doesn't get to take one.
I'll put you in the Ken room. How does that sound?
Yeah, about vacations and cons and stuff. It's so funny. I heard that, and I know what you're talking about. No, but
No. I don't think you know the Barbie movie's coming is gonna be epic. So for those who don't know, what me and my friends are doing for the Barbie movie is we're all guys.
I'm scared to ask.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sneak a bottle into the theater and we're gonna get hammered during the entire thing, and it's gonna be a fantastic thing. So we're gonna walk in really walking straight, and we're gonna barely get out.
You got to be walking out at the end like Hunter S. Thompson in Fear and Loathing when he's going into the, walking in and seeing the lights.
We'll just be leaving Las Vegas.
You're just be leaving. But about like vacations and cons, this is kind of funny. Because there's a lot of people in my life that aren't in the entertainment business and such, and so they don't kind of know. They see like the glitz and glamour part of it, but you'd be surprised how many people like I went to school with or long-time, lifelong friends, even family members, that'll ask me, they'll be like, oh, you and Misty get to travel all over the place, and we see y'all are traveling all the time. Y'all must see the greatest things. I'm like, no, we don't. I said, we get to have fun when we go into the cons, but in terms of seeing stuff, we would make plans before going to a con. We're like, oh, we're going to this city. We'll look up some cool places to eat, look up some cool places to see. We get there, and the inside of every con building looks exactly alike. Okay. All right. The end of the day, I am so exhausted that Misty has all these ideas. I had all these ideas up to about midway through the day, and then Misty just looks over at me. Hey, you just want to order pizza and get it sent back to the room? I'm like, bless you.
So this is interesting because I think people forget, and this is one of the things that I talk about sometimes, is on a business level, is that when you go to a con, you're working.
Yeah, 100%.
And so this is something that I think people have to really understand, is that if you have a newborn kid, or you got a 3-year-old kid or a 5-year-old, or you want to spend time with your kid and he's playing football in high school and he's 16 or 17, and you're going to a con, you're working on your weekend. And if you have a 40-hour regular work, job, a 9 to 5, you have to remember, do you really want to give up your weekends? And there's sometimes a good reason to, but if you're doing 25 cons a year, you're going to be shot if you're in that position, because it's a lot, and it's not a traditional work environment where you're working essentially 24, 28 hours in 3 days, more or less.
Well, I'm going to be cutting a lot of my cons out going forward. I mean, I'm pruning it down because I'm so busy now. Because last year, what happened is I'd already promised so many people I was going to be at this con, that con, or the other con. And if I tell somebody something, I'm going to do it. It may take me longer than I wanted to for whatever reason or something, but it's going to happen. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, it's going to happen. So
let me ask a question about this, because this is one of the things that I'm a big fan of. I love exclusivity. Mm-hmm. So, if I ever had a protege who wanted to learn how I invest and actually wanted to shadow me, I will only take on 2 students a year. And I'm going to be paid well for it if they want it. But I'm not interested in taking on as like mentorship, like 100. To me, I want to be as exclusive as humanly possible. Yeah. Because I believe in exclusivity. And so if you're cutting down your cons, I feel like that makes you more of an attraction. It makes you more of an idea, because if you're going down from 25 to 15, and I'm just picking, a number, all of a sudden, that means there's 10 less places I can get your book or a con exclusive from you. It kind of makes it more valuable versus saying Joe, whatever his name is, who's at 20 cons or 25 cons.
Right.
And so that's
a good way. And I appreciate you saying that and putting that into my head, because, I love my fans. I love getting out, seeing my fans and meeting with my fans, but it's become a necessity now, because when I started last year, was about the time Gwen and I were first starting to really kick up some thunder, and get some heat behind us. And all of a sudden, our cover schedule and my con schedule was often colliding. And, I want to put full focus, on my covers and getting stuff out for the fans. But I still, want to get out. But it's going to be, I'm going to greatly pare it down. And I've been feeling bad that I was going to have to do that. But the way you just said that, I feel a lot better.
Because
this is my therapy section.
No, you're not speaking to a comic creator. That's why you're speaking to somebody who understands business, understands what value is.
Yeah.
And this is the whole difference is that, and people give me shit in comics. Like, you haven't produced a book, so you don't have an opinion. But I'm like, I'm selling 30K on eBay of comic books a year now. I think I have an idea of how this operates. And I think that my viewpoint is slightly different than everybody else. And at some point, I may or may not produce a book. But I think that, again, people don't look at things. Everybody looks at things differently. And I think it's very interesting because I actually think it'll be more interesting when you're only at 15 cons. And now it's a big deal that you're going to be there because when I go to a con, it's no secret that I have a budget and my money is budgeted. Yeah. It's before I even enter the door. If I want a commission from somebody, that's budgeted. Maybe I have $50 of free money that I could do whatever I want with or not. But if I have $1,000, most of that money is budgeted for because I look at who's going to be at the con and there's no impulse buying for me.
Right.
And I understand I'm a unique breed, but if I know you're going to be at that con, I'm going to 4 cons a year and you're not going to be at the other 3, I'm going to make sure that if I want something from you at that con, that I make it a priority. And so I think that that's actually going to benefit you way more than people realize.
Well, good. Let's hope. Because I was sad when I was having to make that decision because I do. But I'm going to tell you something else too. I hate saying this because my buddy, we lost a great this last year, Vic Carabata. He's 93 years old. He worked for Marvel before it was even called Marvel. And he was still up until the week before or 2 weeks before he passed away was going to these cons. And I was seeing him all the time. And, listen, I'm just 50 years old. And if I'm driving 3 hours and Misty's driving, I'm riding 3 hours, I get out of that car and I look like you basically have to get the jaws of life to get me out. I mean, my knees are shot. Sitting at a con all day, my knees get shot in the concrete floors, and it's just taking a toll physically as well. So I'm cutting back on cons. I'm cutting back on a lot of the cons I'm doing, but my cover work's ramped up, and like I said, Gwen and I have a full schedule. I say June, but last time I talked to Gwen, she was talking about some things we're doing, so probably past June by now.
Yeah, well, I don't have anything for you yet, but I will happily wait on that list.
When you jump on, you've got an open invitation whenever you're ready to jump on.
I need to raise funds first. Is the point, because I have to budget it, because I am also one of the people that I will not put any asset like a house or anything before that. And I got no problem losing what I can put in, but I have to make sure that I can lose it. And that's another problem that a lot of creators, I feel, don't understand, is that you should never, ever risk your future or your kid's future or your wife's future or your husband's future to go follow a comic dream. You should do that without any leverage, is my point.
Well, if somebody's trying to break into comics or whatever, that's what I try to tell anybody. They come to me and they ask me, and I'm like, well, you should have come and talked to me in the early 90s because I'm like the world's longest freaking overnight success story, I think. I just kept plugging away. I was just kind of like, okay, crazy industry, you're not getting rid of me yet. And I just kept going along, and and I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm doing what I'm doing. I enjoy it. Back in even when it was kind of low and all that kind of stuff, years ago when I started, I was like, I'm making enough money to be happy, and as long as I'm doing something I love, yeah. But you have got to put in the time, sacrifice,
Well, I'm
God,
not saying that. What I'm
yeah.
saying is that, you know what is, if you have a 9 to 5 job, don't quit your 9 to 5 job and you want to do
No, you
art.
can't. No, 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 you can't because you know when and so a lot of people don't know this about me. They know I was doing it all the way back to the 90s. But when my son was born in 98, and I had a good independent book that had come out that I had written, drawn, penciled, ink, colored. I colored it, wrote it, laid it out, the whole 9 yards, and it did very well. But I had to give that up because my son was born in 98. And, he was born early and I wanted to be there for him and watch him grow up. And I didn't want to have to be out traveling and all this kind of stuff. So I was a creative director for a huge ad firm in the Carolinas and then left there, created my own firm, ran it for years. So, I have on top of the art and stuff, I have a design and a business background. So, I didn't one day just say, oh, I'm just going to throw everything away and do comics. But when my son got older, I realized that's always what I wanted to do and love to do. And by the time my son was starting to wrestle, I said, okay, if he's wrestling, he's old enough now, I said, okay, I'll go on there and I'll start doing the comics and stuff again. And that's when I got hooked up with Zenescape.
Because this is one of the things where I believe in entrepreneurship on the side. I'm a big believer in that. So I have a 9 to 5 job and I have a very good eBay business. And it is a side hustle that gives me a lot of freedoms. It gives me a lot of investment freedom.
Yeah.
But again, I would never, ever want to do my eBay job full time. I was on a very prominent show explaining it, and they said it really, really well. They said, you're happy with your margins, you're happy with everything. And I said, I like healthcare and I like my 401k. I'm not going to lie. Healthcare and 401k are nice.
And there's nothing wrong. Listen, there's not one thing wrong with that. You made the smart play because I'm going to tell you something. There was some severe early sacrifice when I was getting into this business. And I've had a lot of good people that have looked out and helped me along the way. I mean, I'll call out one, and we were talking about Heroes Con earlier. Heroes Con has had me as part of their Heroes Con family coming to their con since the 90s. And a lot of people don't know this, but Shelton Drum over there at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte, North Carolina, who runs Heroes Con, he has been a supporter and a backer of independents and independent comic artists and stuff coming up, for, gosh, I can't even tell you how long. And a lot of the artists that are coming out of the Carolinas owe a lot to Shelton because they're artists and writers, etc. Because he always tries to lend a hand up and help people live their dream, coming up and doing that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, if you want to live the dream, it is, think smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's all I'm going to say. And it is, right on the side, do art on the side, and take it nice and slow. Because if you have a 401k and you have healthcare and you have a family, make sure that you're in good positions, because there's a reason why I'm not doing a book, and I don't know when I'm going to be doing a book, but I will eventually. But it will be paid for and will not put anything at risk.
Yeah.
And I would rather go slow and take it nice and easy and know that I could have a good time with it and do it right, than put the extra pressure on and stress out anything that I'm doing, because that just doesn't seem fun. But I digress. I do want to talk about at least a few more covers. So
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I really can't stand this guy. He's just a dinosaur fan.
What? Come on, Dustin's great. I love Dustin.
I love Dustin. I love Dustin. That's why I was
about to say that's from Ethereal. Ethereal. Gwen and I do a lot for Ethereal, and I'm real lucky. I mean, the people that I work with, I genuinely like, and I've had so many one-on-one phone calls with Dustin, and Dustin and I are so like-minded, and he is. I'm telling you, his passion and how he's structuring his company, Ethereal, is just insane. The vibe inside the company, everybody that's working together. I mean, I love every minute of it.
I like his company too. I backed a few of his things, and I really like If It Hops. I thought he did a really good cover for that, and then his Christmas stuff is fun. So that's them, and he's great. I had a great interview with him,
Oh,
and it
as
was
a matter of
funny.
fact, I'm sitting in here. That's what I was working on today. I'm working on 2 right now for Ethereal.
So I mean, I love it, and that's why I was
Yeah.
joking because he's just a dinosaur fan.
Oh,
Just
I knew you had to be joking because I know Dustin, and it's like, who can't like Dustin? You know, I mean, he's just
yeah,
great.
yeah, no, he's great. He's great. I think Babes, Gores, and Dinosaurs is just such a fun, catchy line. And
It is. Yeah.
all I know though is that I'm just saying that I just wish I jumped on the bandwagon with if it hops quicker because it's such a good book. That's my only mistake. And then another good friend of mine is Mike Tiener.
Oh yeah, I love Mike.
And
Yeah.
so this is
Yes.
Dead End Moon. This is Dead End Moon.
Yes.
And then this is cool. This is Hypergeist, I want to say. Is it?
Yes, Hypergeist.
And then there's this one too, which is
that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
this one's fun. This one's fun. That's Vana, right? Or Vanna?
Yeah, Vanya. And
Vanya.
Vanya. Vanya. Vanya. And
So
Gwen and I had so much fun with that cover, and that was obviously a Gwen influence because from time to time you will see some kind of either cute baby or cute animal. If she can work a baby or a cute animal or something, it's going into it. And so she was talking about, oh, we could do this, we could do that. I was like, well, how about let's make it like a an inner tube thing. And it ended up because I wanted to play with the underwater, and seeing halfway like you were at water level looking at her. And it turned out so great.
So I do want to talk about 2 more water ones before I ask a follow-up.
Okay.
This one right here is really
Yes.
cool. And I think it's Krista Crawford.
Yes.
Book, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this is, I don't know which one came first, but obviously they're variants of each other.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what it was that one there that's on the screen now is the actual cover. Now, if you'll flip it back to the other one, I was talking to Gwen and I said, Gwen, if I change the ears up a little bit, we could have a Ariel Little Mermaid print. And Gwen's like, oh yeah, we could. So, she went there and did that.
So yeah,
one's a print. That's a print. And the other one's a cover.
I mean, I like them both.
Yeah.
And I really like this because it's the Little Mermaid. Who doesn't love the Little Mermaid? I mean, she's freaking a redhead mermaid. I mean,
and something Gwen did, and this is all Gwen's idea, and I think it is brilliant. She took off, started doing this, and most of the time when we get away with it, she does it. If they're outdoors or something like that, she will make the naughty one at night and the nice one in the day. And I just think that's just a really cool thing. Just instead of just changing, like the top and dropping the top part.
Yeah.
She actually goes in and changes it. So it's essentially an entirely different cover, which is pretty cool.
Let's talk about this because there's 2 things I actually am curious about because and it relates to this one. So what is that like to mix it up? Because I don't think you've done like another cover like this with the underwaterness. And it's nice because I hate to say this, but when somebody does 200-300 covers, their work sometimes gets stale. And I hate to pick on J. Scott Campbell, but he has a lot of covers sometimes that are very similar. And it's like, it's another J. Scott Campbell. I don't feel like it's a J. Scott Campbell. I need to get it. And with your covers, I would say if I see 100 of them, maybe number 99, I feel like, oh man, I kind of seen that. But if you have one that's stale out of 100, it's pretty damn good. And so what is that like for you? Because I feel that's a problem, right? Like I don't.
Yeah, it is for a couple of reasons. Because I always tend to try to challenge myself creatively when I'm working on something. And another thing is when somebody hires me to come in and do it, chances are they've seen another cover that I've done. So I kind of know they kind of expect and want that kind of thing. So I kind of have to walk a weird line of giving it to them while making it different enough. And that gets kind of tough. But like I said, a lot of the people I work with, Mike Tenner's one of them where he just, he is really positive and really good about letting Gwen and I come up and do our own thing, because, we don't get pigeonholed into something. And as soon as I heard this was going to be kind of a summer themed, and I'll tell you, the inspiration from that came from one of my main two influences on my work. And it was a pinup artist named Gil Elfgren. And I'd seen one he had done one time. And he had the water line going. And I'd always wanted to try to do that, to see if I could pull it off. And then I got thinking, oh my goodness, the float, this would be perfect. And actually have the float on the water, and you can almost see it kind of bobbling on the water. And I was like, oh man, I want to play with that so bad. So, I told Gwen, and Gwen's like, okay, aces, that's cool. Gwen was okay as long as there's a look of a baby dinosaur in there somewhere. So she was happy. But Gwen was telling me, she goes, oh no, water, Gwen's real hard on herself about things, and I don't think she should be. She goes, oh, well, with water, I don't know, that's a lot of water, and then she nails it. I'm like, oh my God, what was the big to do? I said, it was amazing what you did. I mean, she knocked it out of the park with the colors on that. There's just no way about it.
No, I like that cover. But again, I'm very selective on what I buy, because I like every cover, and it's a problem, and you run out of space, and then people yell at you.
Yeah.
My mom's like, "What's wrong with you?" And it's great. It's wonderful. And speaking about another company, that's a very cool company that I may or may not be batting heavy this month with, Merc Mac.
Oh, yes.
Kindle's TriStar's coming on in like an hour. Justin Thompson coming on, another Zenoscope guy, another, Merc guy, and this little guy named Dolan. I don't know. He wrote this book called Born of Blood.
Yes,
it's so I don't know, Gladiator.
We've got a brand new. I don't know if it's been posted yet. I don't think it has, but we've got a brand new cover for like one of the new Born of Bloods. Oh man, the perspective on it and stuff.
So let's talk about that, because I don't think Merc, and I'm very honest about this, and I'm going to speak freely, Merc is not a Zenoscope yet, but they're in Zenoscope vein, because Merc is in its honeymoon phase, without a doubt. I don't think
they're going to blow up in a huge way. I'm telling you, because the people that run the company are amazing. Love working with each one of them. They are incredible. The ideas that they've got coming in, and they have a strong business head. Yes. I mean, it just blows me away. And I absolutely love doing stuff with those guys.
It's interesting, because they came out swinging the first one, and then they're doing $40,000 to $50,000 Kickstarters.
Yes.
And they're consistent. That's the key word there. It's not the fact that they did like 103,000 and they went down to 60,000. If you're doing 60,000 every 6 weeks or every 2 months and consistency, I don't really care about the number. I care about how consistent you are, because consistency, I think, beats out, running away with the gauntlet once a year. And
they work really well with their talent too. Gwen and I usually do about 3 covers a month for them. And they put out some really cool stuff, but it's kind of a mixture between, we do like 3 covers a month for them. One or two may be for Merc, the other one may be for Comics Elite, or maybe for their new imprint Legends that they've got coming out, and with like Guns and Angels and Jamie Tyndall's book.
Yeah.
So like that one you showed a minute ago with the gun that's pointed forward, that's for Jamie Tyndall's book, that Guns and Angels.
Yeah, and that's on Kickstarter, right?
I believe so. I think I'm gonna tell you, Gwen's the one that keeps me straight on all that. She keeps up with all that. My ADD, I'll probably tell you the wrong thing, but I know you can get it through.
This is the book that I wish I bought that I didn't, and I was foolish. Not that one. This one. Yes. One. I can't share this one on Instagram. No. Just so everybody understands, the cool down is not part of the book. I didn't put it there. I didn't put it there. It was there before, but it's not there in the book. I think, right. I mean, that's the censor bar.
No, it's yeah, you can see everything. And funnily enough, I got to tell this funny story right quick. If anybody out there is not following me or Gwen Dalagot, obviously please do on social media. But if you're following Gwen as well, you will see that I will either not put up the naughty version at all, or I'll just have something that goes across that says naughty. Gwen picks themes like for Vanya, for example, with the dinosaurs, over there with Mike Tenner, she will put like the toy store dinosaur head. It's always funny seeing what she puts. And, one time then we started getting questions like, now, are those actually part of it and on the book, and because it looks so much like, because it's the stuff Gwen got and it's themed that way. And I said, Gwen, I'm just going to put censored across it or something because, and Gwen's like, no, I want to put these cute dinosaurs. It's funny.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to put, if I ever do nude covers, it's going to be TN on it. And there's going to be an N in the middle because that's a wrestling joke for you.
Oh,
yeah. What? We have to make an impact somehow. No, I love Jim Cornette, but that's a dirty word.
Oh, come on. No, we love Cornette.
But in all seriousness, if anybody has this book and you want to sell it to me, please reach out to me because I'm a buyer for this book. But anyway, enough about me posturizing right there. There's some other stuff too. Obviously, there's this right here.
Yeah.
This one, Star Wars.
Right.
Happy Easter, everybody. This is the better version of that, or the lesser version, I should say. This is the better version. And then I'm pretty sure Dolan's watching. So
yeah,
I'm just gonna leave it up there.
Yeah.
I think a Kickstarter is coming for this one too. So I think I can say
Gwen and I have done, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure about this. Like I said, I got ADD and we're doing so much, but I believe we've done 3, maybe 4 of the Born of Blood covers.
I don't know. I don't keep up with it.
I think we've done like 3 or 4. But now, keep in mind, some of them may not have been shown yet.
Yeah, it's tricky.
So I might be talking out of turn.
I know 1 and 2 came out,
okay,
and then I think 3 is being kickstarted, from my understanding. But I could also be speaking out of turn here. Again, I have no affiliation. I am just a humble interviewer who likes comics, who appreciates really good artwork.
Thank you.
And so obviously I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to.
Well, if you like the Born of Blood stuff that you saw up there, I just absolutely, I think that's the first Born of Blood one that we did. And then after it, we've got one where she's dressed as a gladiator and she's in the middle of the arena. And Gwen's got the dust coming up. Oh, it's amazing. And then the other one, the most recent one we did, I don't want to say too much about it because it might give away something in the story, so I won't. But the perspective on the cover, the perspective and stuff, there's a lot of perspective stuff going on and get that angle right and everything. And I'm real thrilled with how that.
I mean, there's a lot going on in this cover if you know what to look for. And I'm not going to say.
There's a lot of hidden, like Roman Greeky kind of things back in there. I mean, nothing like hidden, but a little cool bunch of details.
If you have an idea, and I've only read 1 and 2, I haven't read 3 or 4 yet.
Yeah.
But Dolan did send it to me, so it's just because he's coming on. I think on the 17th. From last time I checked, 17th or the 8th.
Sweet.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good interview. It always is. But there's a lot of stuff, and I know things that are going to happen, and it's going to be super interesting. But again, I don't want to ruin too much because I don't know what I can and can't say. But I do have an idea. And then I do want to just briefly show this. As I stated,
show it. Red Sonja. That was that was an exclusive for Morganton and Timmy Max Comics. and Asheville Comic Con, and do a lot of Comic Cons with Timmy Mack. He runs a comic book shop in Morganton, North Carolina, and runs 3 cons and has them multiple times a year. So almost like every other month he's having a con. And he's a great guy. But it was I won't even tell the story behind that. Tim knows it's hilarious. But it is yeah, man. I mean, we had people just lining up getting that book that day. Yeah, it was good. Love
You
getting
know,
through Sonya.
it's very, very interesting. And then I do want to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that's not comics that you've done, because
Sure.
I know that you have, I think that's not what I want to talk about. This is what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I like the X-Men. I think the X-Men are fun.
Yes.
Cyclops is great. And this is that too is fun.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's Marvel, right?
Yeah, that is Enchantress.
Yes. I just want to make sure. It's been a while. This is not an X-Men, but it's Sue Storm. And then I am a super Rogue fan.
Oh, yeah. I love me some Rogue. 90s Rogue.
I go back. I used to have and I sold it and I made a good chunk of change on it. I'm gonna buy it back when Rogue joins the X-Men.
Oh,
And,
yes.
Walt Simpson and the wife and husband team, and
Yeah.
awesome book. And then Mount Olympus just did a cover of her. That's a cosplay variant for their month of December. That's just off the chain.
Yes.
And I love her, and I think she's great.
That
And
one is going to eventually be a cover. Right now, it's inside my art book. It's one of the examples that's inside my art book that's coming out. The Psylocke is one of the 2 covers for the first 2 art books of mine that came out. And there's a naughty version of that. And the one...
we're a family fucking friendly show here, man.
Well, there's a naughty version of that. But it is, but the one that I did for the cover is what I did is I went in and added the sword behind her. So she's holding the sword and the sword's coming. It looks awesome. And then the other cover, because we launched with 2 covers to my art book, and the other cover to it was what do you call that? What's the cute word? Kawaii. I'm going to say that wrong, but it's a Japanese word for cute. But it's yeah, there you go. That's the other cover, Kawaii Harley Quinn.
I love that one too. It's Japanese. I love Japanese. I love pandas.
And there was a whole mix up on that too, because that was actually going to be a Niobe cover, and we went with another Niobe cover.
I'll be very honest. I'll be very honest with you. This Harley Quinn and Niobe is a good book. This is so much better. Nothing against Larry, but man, this is right up Harley Quinn. Nothing against Niobe or anything of that book, but this is perfect for Harley Quinn.
Well, I appreciate that. We ended up, what we did is we were going to save it because he had asked me about saving it, and using it on a future Niobe. But then, over a period of time, I think I forgot about it. He forgot about it, I think. And then I found it and I was like, hey, Gwen, why don't we color this up and I'll make some changes and then you can do some coloring on it and we'll make it Harley Quinn. And Gwen's like, oh, that's awesome. That'll be cute, because Gwen likes doing cute things. So I sent it over to her, and then lo and behold, it ends up becoming the cover of one of my art books. So
I mean, it's really perfect for Harley Quinn. This is one of the things that I think sometimes people don't understand. So I had Otis Frampton, who does Oddly Normal, and he was commissioned to do something, and then he drew it, and he's like, I really can't give this one to you. This is really too perfect. And he wound up throwing something else for the guy. The guy was happy anyway. But I didn't have that with my logo, which is a cute elf.
Yeah.
But if somebody was an artist and it's like, dude, I really appreciate it. I'm sorry, but I drew something that's so perfect for something else. And I know I would probably not be angry, right? In the scheme of things. I might be like, cool, like how fast can you draw something for me to fix it? But I get it. And that's the thing that I think sometimes people don't understand, is that something is perfect. Yeah. And I'll be very honest. I mean, I think that is a perfect cover for Harley Quinn.
Well,
Like,
thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And you were saying about the elf, and I told you earlier that I'm working on something for Dustin in there today, Ethereal. I'm actually doing an elf archer for his upcoming Fallen Leaves, his Fallen Leaves story, his Fallen Leaf series about the
my
elves.
cute little elf. She's up there
Yep.
now, and
And
she's adorable.
I've got this elf archer, and it's looking amazing. So I'm gonna be finished with it tomorrow and sending it over to Gwenny.
And so, but again, if the person who designed that elf was like, man, this is perfect for something else, and she's like, yo, I'll get it done for you in like a week, I probably wouldn't be angry, because I get it that sometimes creativity just happens. And believe me, I work in a very interesting field in my 9-to-5 job, and you'd be surprised at 4 a.m. I get some ideas, and people are like, "Did that happen?" So there you go. And then obviously talking about this right here too, which is Elite, and there's this one too. And so what's the story behind that? Because I think
this is the metal cover for that.
Oh, I can't afford that. I can't afford that.
Oh yeah, you see the shiny metal. Yeah, I mean it's great. But this is Fate 68. Okay. And Fate 68 has got Gwen and I to be doing a lot of covers here recently. And they've got some really unique, interesting characters and storylines coming up. And we just did, I think you showed briefly earlier, it's the same company we did Pumpkin for that has the wreath, holding the wreath.
Oh, yeah. This
right
one, this one, and this one, I believe.
Correct. And well, what happened is the character that's on the front of that Harley, years ago, I did, and I kind of did it in a, what's the guy's name? Bruce Timm. Kind of a Bruce Timmy kind of style of Harley wearing a gangster outfit. My girlfriend actually cosplayed her as her once and had a Tommy gun, and the Tommy gun's going all over the place and doing this. And I always wanted to do a better version of that for print or something. So I talked to Gwen and I said, hey, we're doing J.P. Cummings for Fate 68. And it's an awesome book with an old kind of noir feel to it. And she's got the detective outfit and the little hat, and she's got the cigar and the Tommy gun. And I got to looking at it. And I said, well, what if I said, Gwen, what if I change some stuff? We'll make her Harley. I'll put in a hyena and go to town with it. So we did it, and it was just going to be a print for us. Well, Jason Conley, the owner of Fate 68, saw it, and he's like, oh my goodness, we want to do this as an alternate cover. So now it's an alternate cover.
So what is that like? Because it's kind of cool. And I don't know, was this your first DC cover or your first one in a while at the very least?
Well,
right?
this was not for DC. It's what it was this is JP Cummings for Fate 68. And this is a cosplay cover of JC Cummings as Harley Quinn. And what we did was we were just going to do it. Gwen and I were just going to do it as a Harley print, for us to have at cons. And then Jason over at Fate 68 saw it and said, oh, I want to do that. Let's do that and add that. So he added it to the Kickstarter. Yeah.
So what is that like? Because you're just pushing something out, and obviously somebody wants it, right? And somebody's like, I want to put that on the book.
That's happened to us. Well, that's happened to us. That's happened to us more than this year than any other time in my life. But now it's like if Gwen and I'll do something kind of like on the side, to have like at cons or just to promote ourselves or something. And then somebody will see it, hit it up and say, hey, can we use that, buy the rights to that, use that as a variant cover? And we're always like, yeah, sure. But it's pretty cool, to be honest with you. And that's happened. I can tell you that's happened probably, I don't know, about 15, 20 times probably in the last year. which is pretty cool, because it lets us do something we want to do. And it was just a natural progression because JP Cummings is this awesome character, awesome noir character with a hat and the Tommy gun. And, I was just sitting there thinking, I remembered all of a sudden it hit me in the head. I was like, oh yeah, I remember doing that little Harley I did. This would be perfect. So I took the time, drew a little hyena in there for Harley, and then did the costume more Harley-esque. Sent it to Gwen, and Gwen colored that, and put all the ha-has behind it, which was genius and looks great. And it now it's a cover proper. And that's what got Fate 68 to come to us when we were doing Pumpkin for Halloween and asked us to do an Ivy cosplay Pumpkin cosplaying as Ivy version for that one.
No, that's fascinating, and I wish I was an artist. God damn it. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
It has its moments. It has its moments.
I'm a humble podcaster who just gets lucky interviewing very, very interesting people. And the only thing I know and my only advice to everybody is just keep asking. If you ask 10,000 people, you will come across the right people eventually. Just law of large numbers. Asking 10,000 people is a lot though. Tricky. It's tricky.
It's tricky.
Takes a lot of typing, a lot of calluses on your fingers.
Invite 10,000 people to a big arena and grab a bullhorn. Do it all at once.
That's good too. You know, that's also an answer. That's also an answer.
Work smarter, not harder.
There are many approaches. There's not a right approach, but there are many wrong ones. There are many wrong ones.
Trust me. I have people. I was telling Misty one day. I have people, like I was saying earlier, calling me up and they'll ask me my advice on this, my advice on that. They'll be like, oh yeah, we're gonna ask you because you got all this, knowledge and wise stuff. I said, no, I don't. I've just made more mistakes. I said,
let me ask you a question
mistake
about that.
There is to make.
Let me ask you a question about that. So I was speaking with Pat Chand, and Pat Chand
I love Pat. Yeah.
Oh, he's great. I love Pat Chand. Pat Chand's like the best. Him and Raven Gregory. Oh my
I love Raven too. Yes.
Raven has been like a freaking saint to me. The point I'm getting at here, though, is that when Pat crossed the 100,000 mark on one of his books, people felt like they could ask him more things. And I said to Pat, I might have said it live, I said, I feel weird to ask you anything. And so he feels that people are more emboldened to ask him things now and ask him like weird things and ask him for certain parameters. And I'm like, so I'm curious, how do you feel about that? Because you feel that people feel more like I can now ask you something like and request something, or is it more along the lines that you're just the, I guess, wisdom tree for lack of a better word? First word came off the top of my head.
Well, no, I mean, but yeah, I guess, if here's the way I look at it, and I know Pat really well, and Pat's one of my favorite people. I don't get to see him enough, but Pat's one of my favorite people, and he would probably be the same way and say, about helping people that are coming up. I mean, if somebody asks you something, I mean, it doesn't bother me to begin with before and after. But nowadays when somebody asks me that, I mean, I guess I just don't think about it. I mean, I'm just like, I try to be as, good an egg as I can, I guess. And just, try to get along with everybody where I can.
Oh man, you were so different. So for me, I'm very good at running my eBay business. I like to think I'm a good investor in stocks and other things. And so if you ask me and you catch me on the right day, or you politely ask me, I don't mind giving you and pointing you in the right direction, but I also don't want to hold your hand. And so also there's a time and place, I feel.
Yeah.
And also I'm not going to give you all my secrets, but if somebody asks me a general question on something, or somebody asks my opinion on something, I mean, it depends who you are. It depends how well I know you too, because I don't want to be deconstructive. And there's been weird questions that have been asked about me on investing, and I'm like, I really don't want to answer. And because let's just face it, people have asked me questions that they're wrong answers only. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
So I would imagine it's tricky because you don't want to destroy somebody, especially like a new person who's coming up.
Yeah.
And they made maybe 10 mistakes they shouldn't have made, because let's be realistic. Sometimes people make a bunch of mistakes, and your first book's your best book, because if you made 10 mistakes on your first book, you're going to make those 10 mistakes never again. But like, what is that?
One of my best experiences working in the comic book business in terms of on a project. And everybody asks me this. And one of my best experiences was working with Pat on a project. It was Alice in Wonderland 10th anniversary. Now, my first project I ever did at Zenescape was working. Pat and Raven had both joint written the script, and it was just amazing. And we've been buddies ever since. But yeah, you'll have to tell them next time you have them on that I sat here and put them over.
Yes,
Say
yes,
another
yes.
inside wrestling term.
You laid down for Hogan.
I laid down for that. Would never happen. That if Hogan asked me for advice, would not happen. I'd give him the wrong advice. I'd tell him the wrong way to go. But that's beside the point. But here's the way I look at it. If life's hard enough as it is, and this crazy business that we're in is hard enough as it is. If I've gone down the road, if I'm a mile ahead down the road and I see somebody back starting to go up this road, it's a courtesy for me, I feel, to turn around and say, hey, there's a pothole right there to the left. Avoid it. But, that's just me.
I get it. I completely get it. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit different, and maybe when I'm 4 or 5 more miles ahead of somebody, I'm like, hey guys, there's a shortcut. And but who knows? But I feel that way about interviews where somebody says, hey man, how do you book a guest? And I say, hey, I really like this and this that you did, and it would be a privilege for me to interview you, is how you should start. Because you know what it is? If you compliment somebody, they're going to be like, I really appreciate that. And guess what? I've complimented people, no response. And then I contacted them 2 years later. Like, oh, yeah, I remember that email that you sent. And you'd be surprised. So, it is what it is. But, yeah, so, but I do want to let you go. I got TriStar in 30 minutes, more or less. And I'd like to put on a cup of hot tea before my voice gets shot. But I do want to give you a chance to promote because you got your art book, you got a bunch of covers, you got Tyler Carpenter's thing coming out whenever that's going to come out. I don't know exactly what that is. I don't know if it's a one shot he's doing or if it's the Girl with the Mega Fists. I think he's launching in February or March.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not even sure. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm trying to go, oh, gosh, I wish I had. I say I'm doing this on my phone, or else I'll be messaging Gwen. Are we on that cover? I just don't know anymore. But
or he might have been trying to solicit you. I don't know because he mentioned your name on Larry Higgins' stream with Niobe.
And I may be. I'm not going to say if he said so. I'm not going to say he's wrong because
I don't know either.
Gwen has corrected me so many times. On things that I'm like, well, wait a minute, where did this come from? And she, oh, you remember? And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
See, this is the problem. We have 2 people in the room who don't know anything about this cover, yet we have strong opinions about the cover. It's wonderful. It's like
great.
FTX. It's wonderful.
Well, I'll tell you, Fate 68, Jason Conley's Fate 68 company is promoting and going to launch my first ever line of trading cards, and it's going to have all like a lot of my pinup covers, a lot of my pinup work. It's not going to have all of them, but it's going to have a good cross section, and it's going to have work that I've done that people have not got a chance to see yet, going all the way back probably to the 90s, and some sketches and some ink, some ink work, some pencil sketches. And then there'll be some chase cards, some foil cards, and all that kind of stuff. And the cool thing, he's actually going to wrap them like the old school trading cards and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. We've just settled down on that. I've just been sending him some art. As a matter of fact, when he sees this, he's going to sit there and go, you've got art you've got to send me. But
let me ask you a question about that. Is that going to be a Kickstarter, or is it going to be just done off a Kickstarter, or is it going to be like a hybrid? Because
I think it's going to be a hybrid because Fate 68 does a lot of their stuff on Kickstarters. So I'm fairly sure And I'm sure he's also going to be watching this going, no, you're getting it wrong. But I believe it is. The last time he and I talked about it, I believe it is, because he does a lot of these Kickstarters. I believe it's going to be a Kickstarter or part of a Kickstarter.
The only reason why I ask is Zenescope did a killing with their trading card set. Did a killing, 100,000 plus. I know that Richard Parks, who does RPS or RPP, I forget his company, he always does well. He just did an Ultraman set. I know somebody else did something. I know Rusty Gilligan's going to be launching something either February, March, or April in trading cards. And I'm a big baseball card collector and a big trading card collector. And I happen to have bought a lot of Aaron Judge stuff that's now worth a lot more money. So this is like right up my alley on understanding.
And it's gonna be done the old school style, and he's gonna have 2 different versions that you can get. He's gonna get one that's gonna be totally family friendly, so it can be sold at cons, for people that are coming up, like, hey, but then there's gonna be another one that also has some naughty stuff on the inside as well. So some naughty cards on the inside as well, or you can order the complete set of both. I think I'm saying all that right. The other thing is, and that's going to be through Fate 68, by the way. And the other thing is, Geezer Comics and myself had put out my original art book a few months ago with the Psylocke 2 covers. Well, technically 4. The Psylocke cover, and then the Harley Quinn cover, but then there's a naughty version of each. Okay. We are putting one out. Gwen and I did a Tinkerbell cover where Tinkerbell is sitting on Captain Hook's hook. And that cover is going to be the cover for my art book. And that's going to be published and put out through Geezer. Again, is going in with us on it, but it's coming out through Comics Elite. And then because this one's coming out through Comics Elite, it's going to have a lot of my Merc covers in there as well. So this will be a more, what would you say, expansive version of the art book. And, I've been seeing, they've been sending me proofs of it and stuff like that over the holidays. And that should be dropping through Comics Elite in probably the next few weeks. So that's going to be a big thing. Other than that, keep looking for my stuff through, freaking Ethereal, Merc, Comics Elite, Legends Publishing, Bad Bug Publishing, which is Mike Tenner, and Fate 68, and we do a lot of stuff with Alton Simpson. And I mean, I could go on and on with the list. I know I'm missing a bunch of people. We do a lot of stuff with Niobe. I've got some cool Niobe stuff, especially if I'm doing some cosplay covers for them, for Niobe, and especially if you've been an X-Men fan. All 3 of the cosplay covers are X-Men cosplays. And it's going to be the girls. So.
It should be good. I mean, you got a lot of stuff coming, and
yeah,
it's going to be fascinating that's coming in. I don't know when Larry's launching his next one, but I know he has a powerhouse of people. It's going to be
yeah. And he is, as a matter of fact, we were supposed to, Gwen and I got behind a little bit, and it I hate saying Gwen and I got behind. I got a little bit behind because, first off, my son had come home right before Christmas. And for those that don't know, he's off in Alaska. So I get to see him about once a year. So naturally, I was going to take the time off, spend it with him. And then in drawing these things, usually what I do is you'll see me posting stuff on Facebook all the time and Instagram. And it'll just be like boom, 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 boom. And then if I go to a con, for some reason when I come back from a con, it takes me a day or 3 to get back into the whole mindset of being back in the studio. I don't know what that is, but just creatively it does. So it's been crazy. So we're playing a lot of catch up, and like I said, we've got projects on us going out through well past June. So
it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem.
Yeah. Some days I forget what my name is. So it's a good time. Good thing I usually have it on my hat. I was about to point to it, say I have it on my hat, then I realized I got my Polly's Island hat on. So, normally I've got my Gregbo signature hat going across the top. So
it's a good problem to have work and be busy.
Really, it is.
I know that at my job I am busy, and it's a good problem, and my work will never end at my job, which means I will be employed for as long as I show up to work, which is a good thing.
As long as you show up.
It's really hard. It's really hard that I have to go into my office one day a week, and my commute on the days that I don't have to go in, it's like 500 yards. No, not even 500. It's more like 50 feet, guys. It's really hard. It's tough on the body. I got to walk from my bedroom to the kitchen table. Sometimes traffic is just rough. And then in the kitchen, the refrigerator, and going to the lunch break room, which is right across from where I'm sitting. It's
I love how you're calling it the lunch break room. And it's funny though that you say that, because I've been doing this forever, working from home. And even when I ran my own advertising agency for years, I ran it from home. But, my girlfriend, she just kept, she had always said, no, there's no way I could work from home. No way I could work from home. Well, COVID hit, and then she was working from home. So then she started looking for a job where she could, after COVID, everybody was going back, she wanted to work from home. So now she's working for Energizer and working from home. So she's in the mode now of walking down the staircase and getting into her office and going to the breakfast area or the lunch break area and all that good kind of jazz.
There's a lot of stuff. I love I get to work like 4 days from home. It's amazing. Yeah. The best thing in the world. But anyway, enough about that. Obviously, had a lot of stuff coming out, and I've been saying it a while. I'm going to continue to say it. You need to support comics. You need to support indie comic creators, mainstream comic creators, hybrids of both. You need to support what you like. Independent media is a big thing, and you need to support it. If you like something, you need to support it. Now, I personally don't care what you like. So if you like comic books, you like wrestling, you like music, you like movies, you like B-horror films, you like mainstream stuff, you like anime, you need to support all of that, because
one thing I got to say, also, believe it or not, because I was listening to all the things you were mentioning. I'm actually one of the creators of a new TV series that's coming out, and it's going to be starring 2 pro wrestlers, and it's a horror comedy, kind of like in the vein of the old Svengoolie and Elvira, where they watch the old films. And one of it's Chuck Sloan, and he used to wrestle in WWF. He's my kid's tag team partner. And then the other one you may remember from WCW, he was Rob Kellum. He is Rob Kellum, and he was the Maestro. And so it's called Sinister Cinema, and it should be coming out and being available in the next few months.
That should be fun, and that's something to look out for. But obviously, you got to support what you love, and independent media is a big thing. And I'm going to quickly plug myself. Obviously, I am independent media, so I appreciate when people support this show. And the way you could do that is 4 or 5 ways. Typically, you could actually follow me on social media at Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You could shoot me a message. You could actually share out the interview. You can, send me digital comics, or you could ask me for my address and send me real comics. Or I do have Buy Me a Coffee, and I do appreciate that. Or if you would like to have me on your show and you have a podcast, I am more than happy to be there as well, talking either about money, my opinions on comics, or just my thoughts as somebody who sells a lot of comics on eBay, and giving my thoughts on the industry as well as insight. Or I could talk about investing, relationships as well. So obviously that's how you support independent media, any of those things. But remember, a Twitter follow, an Instagram follow, a Facebook like, they're all free. And so I really appreciate when people do that for me. And sharing this stuff out means the world to me, more so than anything else. But on that note, I'm going to give you the final word. Okay. That works. That works, everybody. And that is
we've covered everything.
And that is a wrap, everybody.